Hello and welcome back to the Red and White podcast. After a 2-2 draw yesterday at home at Gillingham, we travelled to MK Dons on Tuesday night before staying down there and playing away again in the league. The EFL Trophy being the first game. And joining me from the Sit Down or We'll Steal Your Club podcast and big MK Dons fan is Andrew James. Andrew, thanks for coming on. How are you?
How you doing, mate? You're right.
Great. To kick us off, we'll go straight into it. Your result yesterday, obviously your rival game against Wimbledon. A 2-0 win. Great result, really.
Yeah, more than anything, mate. I'm just, I think a lot of us on both sides are starting to. There's a lot of history behind the fixture, and I think a lot of us at this time of the season, especially with no fans in the ground, it just became more of a focus on like league position and things like that. I think even they would agree with that because they're desperate to get out of the bottom three and we're desperate to pull away. So when you look at it in that sense, if we can, I think we've got now 9 points between us and them. I might be wrong. If we're at 7 points or something like that. The more space that you put between teams like that, the better. But yeah, it's always fun, no matter whether you're there or not. The crack on the internet sort of stuff, and you've had your big fixtures in the past, so it's always fun, them sort of things. But it's just good to pull away from the relegation zone, to be fair.
No, it's a really interesting rivalry. Like, it's probably unlike any other, and it's not something I can really imagine being a part of. I mean, we've got a huge rivalry up here, of course, but it's really unique. I think, especially. I had a look at your recent form. I think out of your last 5 games, you've either went win, loss, win. You've either won or lost 3, and the others has been a win or a loss. So really inconsistent, but there's been some decent results. What's happening?
It's the proper definition of a transitional year. It could not be more, it could not be more synonymous with us, really. It's so hard to describe because I don't think I've seen us play badly on too many occasions. We've got, beaten even quite heavily a couple of times. But most of the defeats are games that we're in. It just comes down to a lack of like we played Peterborough about 2 weeks ago, and we were probably the better team, but got beat 3-0. You look at all the stats, and stats mean I'm probably the most stats mean nothing if you're not effective kind of geezer that you can get. But in the games, we're in a lot of games. We just haven't got the cutting edge a lot of teams do. So it's a real sort of situation that the manager had come into last year, where he's calling at the minute spinning plates. He's getting players out and bringing players in fairly quickly. I think we've probably done more business in January than this year than anyone probably in the country in all leagues. So it's hard to sort of say what team will turn up, because we went to your place and had won, I think, in 14 months away from home and then beat you. If you had asked me 2 hours before that fixture, I'd have said no chance. So it's quite difficult to say, really. But we're in to watch, and but all that's a bit useless if you're not going to be putting the ball in the back of the net and whatnot.
You said a lack of cutting edge. Is it a lack of creativity that's costing you then?
Weirdly enough, no. It's the creativity is fine. We've got Scott Fraser, our number 10, who's just. He won't. If there's any justice in the world for him, he won't be here very long, because he's easily championship standard. There's a lot of players in the midfield. Lasse Sorensen's a good player. David Kasumu, who is the yellow cards, but he does his job right. All that sort of stuff. Our midfield is pretty spot on, but we've got striker problems. We've got Cameron Jerome, it turned a lot of heads, I think, in the summer when we signed him. 35 years old, I think he is, or 34. And it turned my head, to be fair. But I thought with the experience in the team that he can offer, I was sort of behind the transfer. But he scored 9 goals this season. But after that, you're looking at Joe Mason, I think, who scored 4. And 3 in a game last week in one game. So we had Stephen Walker on loan from the Borough, and I didn't rate him at all. I think he scored 3 or 4 goals, but again, it wasn't experienced enough. It's relying on Cameron Jerome, really, and he's not scored, I don't think, in his last 3 or 4 games. So that could be a problem.
Mm-hmm. I think he's interestingly enough looking at bringing Will Grigg in. Which, if that was the case, I think I would take him there myself.
I was hoping to ask you about that, to be fair, mate. Yeah.
He was quite good for you, so he played a couple of years back, and he scored quite a few goals, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he scored 20, 21, something like that. But that year we had Benik Afobe as well. And at the time, Benik was only with us on loan until the January. And then Wolves bought him off Arsenal. He's now jumping around Turkey or somewhere like that, I think he is. But Grigg at the time it was quite literally a game at a time. It was either Grigg, Afobe, Grigg, Afobe, Grigg, Afobe, Grigg, Afobe in each individual games. Never started together, and they always replaced each other, and it complemented each other fairly well. Do you know what I mean? It was always it was always an interesting sort of situation, because you had two goal scorers who, I mean, if Afobe had stayed, he would have banged 20, 25 as well. So you're looking at 40, 45 goals that season. When he left, I'm of the opinion. So he left in 2015, and that was the year that we got promoted to the Championship. And I think I think he scored 21 goals. And I'm of the belief that if he had stayed, we probably would have stayed in the Championship that year. And that has changed everything, the way that the club's gone over the past few years. I know your lot don't really rate him that much, but I look at a history like that, and I think it wasn't that long ago, and you don't turn into I think some players are suited to certain clubs and some players aren't, and I think it'd probably be a decent signing for let's face it, bang on mid-table club, to be honest.
No, different players do suit different environments. My problem with Will Grigg, I've got no problem with players coming here struggling, not quite getting the system, not quite getting themselves going, maybe struggling with the size of the club or what have you, struggling with the expectations. I have a problem when players come to the club and don't always put 100% in, and that's what I see from Will Grigg. I see a negative attitude. It didn't help that when he came in. I think he missed an open goal in his very first game. He missed a lot of one-on-one chances. He actually missed a few open goals, I think, early on. And I think he's never.
He missed one against us earlier in the season. As well.
Oh God!
No,
he had a few similar to that where he took it around the keeper, I think, and a few where he was one-on-one, and he was just putting them straight at the keeper over the bar or wide. And he did get it, but then he did get a few goals. But I think my problem with Will Grigg is that he doesn't seem to have the ability to put mistakes behind him and move forward. He looks defeated a lot of the time. You can see in the little clips of him walking around the changing room or walking out the tunnel, walking in training. He looks as if he's not bothered. And it's the same when he comes on the pitch. He looks as if he has this attitude where he doesn't care. He doesn't seem to go the extra yard. We've got Charlie White, the striker. When things aren't going right for him, I notice he tends to come out wide, drop deep, put extra pressure on defenders, chase the ball right down to the keeper, go for every header, do everything he can. To me, it seems as if Will Grigg, if he's not going to get the ball bounced from inside the box, he's just not interested. That would be my assessment of him at his time at Sunderland, anyway.
Yeah, it's quite a strange one, because he was probably one of the hardest working players that I can remember. We're talking like in the history. He ran about a lot. He got on the end of crosses. He did come wide and things like that himself, but it worked with the style that we had under Carl Robinson to bring others into play and things like that. So I find it very surprising that a player like Will Grigg is suddenly just become that sort of character. But we had a lad a couple of years ago called Chuks Aneke, who now plays for Charlton.
Yeah.
And he signed for us the year we got relegated from the Championship, pretty much with a guarantee that he would be the main man, and hopefully fire us back to the Championship. Got a big injury. I won't go over it too much, but got a big injury, and before you know it, we dropped down to League Two. A lot of people pointed fingers at him, but there were, Crewe Alex fans who he was there on loan before had sort of said, he's never the sort that looked like he was lazy or whatever, but a lot of people seem to think that he was that sort of player. But he came out the next season and it was evident he wanted to leave, but instead of moping around like an idiot, he just got on with it and bagged about 20 goals that year, whether it's for his own CV or whatever. We helped him and he helped us, and he ended up getting his move. So there's probably a way that you could do it, and Griggy's probably doing it the wrong way, but I just don't know what's gone on there, to be honest, because I always thought he was a class player, which has always made you lot laugh, to be honest, because I've had a few like tweets and exchanges with people, and you don't know bugger all about football because he's crap and all that sort of stuff. So it's just like watching two different players, really, isn't it?
No, I think it's you've seen one, but I think we've seen another. To be honest, as I say, I don't know what I put it down to. I don't think his attitude's helped at all. But a lot of people say, "Oh, we haven't played the right system. We haven't got the right chances to them." To which I would say, if a striker's good enough, they'll create their own chances. You know,
Absolutely.
White's managed to get in great form this season. Even before that, we had a Josh Manager here before. One exactly always playing to his strengths, but he used to be able to create himself chances. And secondly, it's he still had chances. He had the open goal he missed against you a lot earlier this season, and when he did come to us, even in that first season, he had so many chances that clearly the system wasn't a problem, the formation wasn't a problem because we were still getting chances in and around the box. He was missing them. Moving on
No,
slightly,
definitely.
Off one.
No. Just saying, yeah, definitely. I'm agreed. If you've got I mean, what is it, about 3.5 million or something like that? You know, if you're having to spend 2.5 years or whatever it's been since you signed him, trying every system that you can to fit others and build around him, and yet he's the one missing open goals, is actually probably not anything else that's a problem other than him. So yeah, I can agree with that, to be fair.
Yeah. Moving on a bit, obviously, I think when you played against us last time, you were playing with wing backs. Are you still playing like a 3-5-2?
Yeah, it's more free than a 5, I would say, but it was a strange one, that game, because after we played you lot, we went to the Valley and played Charlton not that long afterwards, and we beat them as well. And we'd waited 14 months without a win, and then we sort of went a bit defensive at Charlton and a bit defensive at yours, and it feels like that's not us, but it got the result. So it's hard to say whether we'll be a bit more defensive than we normally are, but we tend to go at teams. And the wing backs that we've got, I mean, as I alluded to earlier, we've had a lot of business being done. We've got Ethan Laird on loan from Manchester United, who's like massively highly rated by their fans. They're never out of the mentions whenever anything remotely tweeted about from MK Dons, so they clearly want to keep an eye on him. And on the left side, we've got a young Scottish lad called Daniel Harvey, who is the modern day Roy Keane. To be honest, he's a walking yellow card ready to happen. He'll hit and lump you and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, he's a niggly player. We've also got Matthew Sorinola, who seems to be doing I don't even know if he'll be here by the time the game goes ahead, because he's attracted a lot of interest. I think he's only 19 or 20, I can't remember, but he's a young academy prospect who's really come through this year. Could probably play as a winger, to be fair, but he's sort of reserve left back, but left wing back, I should say. He should come on. But yeah, we've sold 2 as well. George Williams has gone to Bristol Rovers, and Regan Paul left yesterday, just an hour before kickoff, has gone to Lincoln, top of the league, and he was one of our top goal scorers. I think he got 4 or 5 from wing back. So yeah, we'll definitely be playing with the wing backs. Probably Led and probably Harvey, to be honest, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned Scott Fraser saying he's creating lots of chances for you. I think he's actually a player we were looking at, or at the very least, he was a free agent in the summer, and a lot of Sunderland fans wanting us to get him, myself included. Aside from him, who should we be most concerned about?
Well, Cameron Jerome speaks for itself. I always find it funny mentioning the name, even because I mean I was about 10 years old when he was banging goals in the Premier League. But yeah, he's still got it. Don't let the Cameron Jerome factor and the fact that he's 35 take. I mean, he's a hard worker, and he gets around the ball, and he does a lot of the good off the ball work, and he runs after everything. And I'd also say we brought in a lad early this week called I can't even remember his name, Matthew O'Reilly from Fulham, who in the past to Liverpool, Dortmund, and Man City. So I don't know why he's ended up here, but he has. He scored last night, yesterday even, against AFC Wimbledon, and I don't know too much about that. I wouldn't say they're creative players, but players in terms of players that will give you a good performance. The goalkeeper's is basically a false defender. He's never in his box if we've got the ball. And the likes of David Kasumu, who, as I said earlier, is a yellow card waiting to happen, and a young defender we signed from Cambridge United called Harry Darlin, who's been the man of the match in the 2 games that he's played so far. So yeah, these are players that are slowly helping the team and slowly getting there and finding what we need. But I'll be keeping an eye on Scott Fraser and Cameron Jerome at the back if there's any problems.
Yeah. In terms of weak points, what can we look to exploit in particular? Might we be able to find a lot of space out wide, given that you're playing with wing backs, it can occasionally cause you to be a bit exposed out wide?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we've got a 37-year-old centre half, Dean Lewington, who has been he's been there since the very, very start of the club, and he played for the old Wimbledon. That's how long he's been around.
Puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah, so he's never been the fastest. He's if he was a FIFA player, he'd have 12 pace.
Yeah.
But he's good and robust at what he does, and he's a very good defender. But if you run at him, that's a point that I think you'll probably be looking at as a weak point, I'd say. But I really back him. I think he's a good centre half. I think we do leave a lot of space in behind. We've been susceptible to long balls and things like that. We've been open to balls over the top and awkward bounces and things like that. We've started to defend better recently, but yeah. I will mention, if you score inside the first 10 minutes, if you don't score inside the first 10 minutes, then there's something wrong with you, because pretty much every club has this season. So we're really bad at conceding early goals.
Took the lead last time round. We took the lead the last time round, I think, and you came back out.
Yeah, it was.
I'm trying to think who scored that goal now.
And neither can I. That's what I'm trying to think. Was it Max Power?
Yes, it was. It was took a deflection before it went in. Yeah, I remember it now.
And I think he gave the pen away as well. But yeah, the early goals, we've started to be a bit better at them recently, but they're still there or thereabouts. We conceded one to Peterborough about 2 weeks ago within about 4 minutes or something like that. It's a real weak point. So if you come at us early, there's every chance you could score, I think, from an early goal.
Yeah. On what you've just said there, in terms of you struggle with players running at you, could be an ideal game that's just springing to my mind for Jack Diamond, a young player who came through our academy, went on loan to Harrogate last season. He's came into our team, and his deliveries are something that I would really criticise, as well as his final ball in general. But he seems to have this ability to run at players, and defenders don't even know what they're doing. He reminds us a little bit of when we were back in the Premier League, we had Steve Malbronk. Players just don't know how to defend against them. So potentially a player like himself or Lyndon Gooch tends to be really, really direct going forward. Just a talking point I think I can bring from that. Final question, really, going into the game, prediction.
Well, we've got 2 this week, so it's difficult. There seems to be
we'll predict each game, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, there seems to be a. I'll just allude quickly that the what do you call it? What's it even called nowadays?
The Papa John's trophy.
Yeah, I've lost count on that. Yeah, when it comes to that trophy, it's hard to say what team will turn up. You're definitely going to see 2 different goalkeepers in each game. From us, we'll have Lee Nichols, who is way too good to be a number 2. He should be a number 1 at a handful of League 1 clubs at least. He's just been outdone by another goalkeeper. So I think it's difficult to sort of say, because I don't quite know the line. I don't think it will change that much, but there will be changes, and it just depends on what sort of players come in. There seems to be a big talk around at the minute over, if you had to choose one, which would you choose? And I know for you, you would definitely take the league. You're not asked about the cup, I'd assume. But for us, it's the sort of thing where we're just a couple of games away from Wembley. Even if you can't go, it's a sort of big thing for a little club like ours. So I would say lose one. We'll probably lose one and draw the other. I'd probably take the league point, to be honest, though, if I'm honest.
Yeah, to me, if I was saying this a minute, I was saying, as much as I would back us to win both games, really, I would take a loss on Tuesday if it meant we won on Saturday.
Definitely.
I think Lee Johnson will take the game quite seriously. He does take the cup games quite seriously, and I think we are getting an increase in squad depth now, and there's a lot of new signings that have came in, and he can change formation and things like that. So I would expect them to be relatively different sides, but I think there'll be a few players who play both games. I don't think he'll just stick the young'uns out against you, because I think he does take the cup relatively seriously. But as for the cup game, as I say, I'm not bothered if we play a weekend side and that allows us to win on Saturday. I would much take that. I'm going to predict that we're going to win both games. I do think that. I think yesterday was a little bit of a blip. was a mistake right at the end that cost us the final 2 points. So I think I'm going to go with a 1-0 win in each game.
Yeah, see, when I say that, it's always something I hate doing, but I find it quite boring. Football fans will always say, I think that we're going to win. I'm looking at it like logically. I think there's going to be there'll be a tough ask to win both games against you this season or win all three.
Yeah.
And given the fact that we're playing each other twice in a week, I think there'll be two totally different games. I think they'll be trying to work each other. I think they'll try and work each other out in the cup game for the league game, maybe. I'd love us to win both, but again, I'd take a point. But the problem is, it's hard to tell which one of us, our teams, when it comes to MK, is going to turn up. Because as I said, I never ever would have thought that we'd beaten you lot after 14 months without winning an away game, and then we go to a place like that and win 2-1 after going a goal down. It's a strange one. So it's not me being negative. I'm trying to think a bit realistic, if I'm honest.
Yeah. I think we'll leave it there. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
No problem, mate.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening as well. We'll be back for the next preview.